Well, the GST era is well and truly underway. Apart from a few hitches, it's been smooth sailing so far. So are you GST compliant? Over the next 60 minutes, top officials from the Central Board of Excise and Customs, along with the country's top tax experts, will answer your queries. This is your GST helpline. I'm Shireen Bhan. Joining us on the show today, Ananya Ray, member of the CBEC, and also Manish Sinha, commissioner at the CBEC. They join us straight from North Block. Also joining us are three of the country's top tax experts, Pratik Jain of PwC, MS Mani of Deloitte, and Suresh Nandlal Rohira of Thornton, India. We'll also be taking up your queries. We'll have live callers joining us as well. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. Pratik, I know that you have a long list of questions. This is based on the feedback that you've been getting in from your clients. Go ahead. We've got the CBEC team to answer them.
Okay, thanks a lot, Shireen. And first, let me compliment the CBC member and Mr. Manish Sinha that the first couple of days has been quite smooth on GST. We were not expecting it to be as smooth as it is. My first question is more as a consumer than anything else. When I went to several restaurants and eating outlets last couple of days, there seems to be a lot of confusion. So my interpretation was that anything which you buy from restaurant, either home delivery or when you eat at the restaurant, it is subject to 18% GST. Of course, there is a distinction between AC and non-AC. But 18% is the general rate. But I saw a lot of restaurants charging 5%, 12%, 28% depending on the product that I buy. So I just want to clarify and confirm the understanding that restaurants are supposed to pay tax as services at the rate of 18% as far as AC restaurants are concerned. So that there's no confusion, because it impacts the small restaurants as well as the consumers like you and me.
Well, this is a very important question, and I do agree that there has been a lot of confusion. I've been seeing a lot of posts as well, of course, pertaining to questions on alcohol specifically, because most people haven't realized that alcohol is outside the ambit of the GST, and hence that rate will apply when it comes to alcohol on your hotel and your restaurant bills. But Manish, if we can get you to answer this for the benefit of all the consumers who are watching, if I go to a restaurant which is an AC restaurant, because that's how the rates have been divided, what is it that I'm supposed to pay?
You are expected to pay 18%, except in a situation where restaurant perhaps has a selling outlet somewhere outside the restaurant where he is selling the goods per se. But if you have gone inside to dine in a restaurant, you are availing of the service, the tax rate applicable is 18%.
Okay, the tax rate applicable is 18% if you are dining in an AC restaurant. So this confusion that Pratik was talking about of some products being charged at 5%, some at 12% and some even at 28%, how do you explain that, and what will be the view of the CBEC if such instances were to come to light?
This is overcharging of taxes. They will have to deposit the tax. Law requires it, but they are not expected to overcharge. Perhaps we will have to provide better education and communicate this, that the applicable rate of tax is 18%. Any rate above that is incorrect.
Have you been getting such queries, or have you been getting such anecdotal information from consumers, etc., specifically when it comes to how restaurants are billing under the GST?
No, you see, it is first day itself, so there is a bit of confusion here and there, but we have not received a trend of restaurants kind of doing it as a matter of practice. At a few odd places it might have happened. Okay. You have flagged it to us. We will definitely try to communicate better and ensure that restaurants are aware of this, and most of the restaurants in Delhi and around are perhaps aware. At one or two places it might have happened, but I'll take that more as an aberration than a practice.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the fact that the government is responding to the queries that are coming in. Let's go across now to Mr. Rohira. Mr. Rohira, I know you've got a long list of questions as well, basis the feedback that you're getting. We've got the CBEC members here. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thanks, Shireen. Firstly, stretching that discussion which Pratik raised about the restaurants, and Mr. Sinha, as you mentioned that today, people do not have clarity. I mean, the restaurant owners do not have clarity whether they should charge 18% or 12% in case of non-AC restaurants. Now, having said that, you mentioned that the tax have to be deposited, which is obvious. But there are restaurant owners who do not know about composition scheme. So for example, if they were not to exceed 75 lakhs, wherein they have to charge only 2.5%, and having collected 18%, what would one do? You know, that's one of the concerns which I just came across in a live situation today afternoon.
Scheme doesn't automatically
Manish?
come to you. There's a form to be filled. Yeah, let me respond. Composition scheme will come to you only if you avail of it, because the default understanding would be you are under normal tax and credit chain, but if you avail, fill the composition form within the time limit prescribed and you have availed the composition, then only the composition rates, that is 5% in case of restaurant, applies to you. So anyone, restaurant owners who wish to avail of composition, please have a look at the composition rules. Please have a look at the FAQs on composition which are there on CBEC website, and avail of the facility of 5% tax rate.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is something that you will have to avail of. Yes, Mr. Rohira, go ahead very quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree that one has to avail of those benefits and has to follow certain procedures for it. But knowing the fact, you know, that the kind of awareness which the restaurant owners are wanting at large is yet to come, and considering that, you know, consumers like us would land up paying 18, and there is no subsequent recourse to it for it to be returned, because once the tax collected has to be deposited, which is very correct logically. So the point here is that there has to be some level of awareness which has to be brought, you know, to public at large or to the restaurant owners at large to take necessary steps, which is what I feel ministry should be mindful of.
We will take that input from you, and as I have already promised, we will take this message across as quickly and as forcefully as we could.
If I can just add to what... All right, thanks very much for that. Let's go to our first caller now. Yes. Ajit Omer dials in. He runs a jewelry business in Kanpur, joins us on the line. Ajit ji, बताइए क्या सवाल है आज आपका?
मैडम, मेरा सवाल ये था कि जो एक्साइज में हम लोगों को पहले रजिस्ट्रेशन कराया गया, जिसमें कुछ व्यापारियों का था और कुछ का नहीं था, और दूसरी क्वेरी ये थी कि जो हम लोगों का वैट का सेट ऑफ था, ये दोनों सेट ऑफ अगर हमें लेने हो तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? क्योंकि एक्साइज में जैसे अगर हमने A to B और B to C का जो बिलिंग का प्रोसीजर है, मतलब मैंने मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से जिसने डायरेक्ट बिल लिया उसमें तो एक्साइज मेंशन है, बट जिन्होंने मैन्युफैक्चरर से डायरेक्ट बिल नहीं लिया है, जिन्होंने किसी वेंडर से बिल लिया है, एक्साइज उसमें पेड है, तो वो ITC में कैसे क्लेम होगी?
जी, Manish, would you like to answer Mr. Omer's question?
Yeah, this is a question which relates to what happens to the excise duty which has been paid on goods, and such goods at present are with a trader who was not registered with Central Excise now. There is a proviso to, I think, section 140 subsection 3, which provides for deemed credit facility on such goods where the tax rate, IGST rates are 18% or 28%. Post sale in GST period, you are eligible for 60% of the deemed credit. It's a way of kind of giving you back the credit once you have paid the goods in GST era. So this situation has been thought through in transition. Rules provide for this. Okay. आप अपने पास के कानपुर के किसी भी GST ऑफिस में चले जाएं, हर GST ऑफिस GST सेवा केंद्र की तरह कार्य कर रहा है, और आपको किस तरह डीम्ड क्रेडिट लेना है ये बता दिया जाएगा.
अजीत जी, आपका एक और सवाल था?
जी, जॉब वर्क से रिलेटेड एक मेरी और क्वेरी थी कि अगर जॉब वर्क के लिए हम अगर कानपुर में हैं मान लीजिए, और हमारा जॉब वर्क मान लीजिए जयपुर या हमारा कोयम्बटूर में होता है, जिसमें रजिस्टर्ड डीलर या अनरजिस्टर्ड डीलर किसी से भी मेरा काम होता है, तो उस परिस्थिति में हमें जो इसका GST का है वो GST कौन देगा?
जॉब वर्क की
who will pay the GST?
हाँ जी, बता रहे मनीष जी, आपको बता रहे हैं. यस मनीष, गो अहेड.
जी, जॉब वर्क की फैसिलिटी इसलिए होती है कि जॉब वर्कर को टैक्स का बोझ न पड़े. प्रिंसिपल उसके बदले में जॉब वर्क के जॉब वर्कर के बदले में वैल्यू एडिशन पे टैक्स पे कर सकता है, बट उसका एक प्रोसीजर होता है। जॉब वर्क के लिए साफ तौर पे रूल बने हुए हैं, उन रूल्स को एक बार आप देख लें, आपको किसी तरह की दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, आप अपना जॉब वर्क आराम से करा पाएंगे।
में क्या उसको
अजीत जी
माना जाएगा या? हेलो हेलो,
हाँ जी, जल्दी से बोलिए सर, बहुत लोग वेट कर रहे हैं। आपका तीसरा सवाल है, बहुत जल्दी से बोलिए।
माना जाएगा या उसको हम लोग चालान पे इशू कर सकते हैं? और हमारा आउटसाइड आउट द स्टेट होता है तो
जॉब वर्क के लिए जॉब वर्क चालान की व्यवस्था अभी भी जीएसटी में कर दी गई है। कृपा करके आप एक बार जॉब वर्क के रूल्स देखने के का कष्ट करें, और जॉब वर्क पे एफएक्यू भी डाला हुआ है सीबीईसी की वेबसाइट पे www.cbec.gov.in, वहां आपको इन प्रश्नों का उत्तर मिल जाएंगे।
जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अजीत जी आज हमसे बात करने के लिए। लेट्स मूव ऑन, वी गॉट लॉट्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस कमिंग इन फ्रॉम एक्सपोर्टर्स। Ananya, if I can put this question to you, and this one comes into us on our Twitter feed, EEPC India sending us a question saying, will IGST paid on rupee exports to Nepal be refunded to exporters? Ananya.
We don't have any system of refund where India-Nepal is concerned. We have this system only with India and Bhutan. So there's no question of any refund where the export is to Nepal.
Okay.
Manish,
so there's no
that.
question for refund.
I will add two more points.
India, yes, go ahead.
No. Let me explain what member has said. What member has said that there is no method of refund to the government of Nepal. As far as the exporter is concerned, he is eligible for 0 rating. Now if it is export of goods, the currency requirement that the payment be in foreign currency does not exist. In case of export of services, the requirement that the payment be made in foreign currency does exist. We will be shortly doing something about it. But if you are an exporter of goods, you export to Nepal, receive payment in Indian rupees, you will be 0 rated. You will receive your IGST refund or refund of the duties accumulated on the input side.
If I can just explain that
EPC
further.
India, I hope that answers your query. Yes, yeah. Ananya, go ahead.
See, when you are exporting goods, as Manish said, there is no duty on the export per se. But for the inputs which are being used, and when you are going to clear it for export, you must have paid some IGST on that. So there are two methods which we have worked out. You will get a refund of that after you have exported it. So there are two methods of refund. One is when you pay the duty when you are clearing the goods from the warehouse or the factory or the retail outlet, wherever it is, and you are exporting it, you get a refund of the duty that you have paid there. Secondly, the duty element which is there on the input which has gone into the manufacture of these goods. So there are two ways of getting refund. In the first type of refund, you will get it automatically when you file the shipping bill or your whatever bill of export where as and when you have exported it, provided the EGM says. So there's an export general manifest is there. The export general manifest certifies that, and you get your refund upfront. For the other thing, you have to go back to your local GST officer. Of course, you should have a valid GST in, that is the GST identification number, and file your refund claim there. Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much for answering the question that was sent in by EEPC India on our Twitter timeline. Mani, you've got several questions as well. Go ahead with yours.
Okay. I would just like to mention at this stage that GST has been a very different experience for service providers. All the media outreach that I have seen from the government side is wonderful. It is excellent that we are having FAQs and clarifications being sent. But keeping in mind the fact that service providers in the past have not been accustomed to do a monthly filing, have not been accustomed to dealing with each particular state, we have many service providers in India who are now going to be dealing on a monthly basis with each of the states. Is there any media outreach that the government is planning which is to take care of the service providers' concerns, because the concerns of the service providers are very different from those of the manufacturers?
Fair point. Let's go across to Manish. Manish, would you like to take that?
Yeah. You see, most of these service providers who are now registered in multiple states are essentially large service providers who availed the facility of centralized registration earlier, This by design, GST is a dual GST. The Constitution provides for it. States get a right to levy charge of service tax, and therefore it had to be this way. But we will try to see to it that they do not have multiplicity of interpretations. Whatever outreach is required, whatever clarifications are required, whatever hand-holding is required, it will be provided. We are aware of this new paradigm for the service providers, and we are constantly monitoring the situation. Rest assured, they will be helped to break into this new regime.
All right, so hand-holding will happen. Yes, Mani.
Yeah. The specific question as far as service providers is concerned is like this, that in respect of an input service distributor who is permitted to transfer credits to another location, right now based on the existing rules, this is not permitted in respect of property-based services. So therefore, if we have an input service distributor who has an office in 5 different locations and he would like to transfer the credit to the parent location, he is not permitted to do this in terms of rentals and other property-based services. Is there any resolution that is possible for this? Because clearly if a person has to function in a particular place, he will need a minimum office and some basic infrastructure.
Right.
No, I am not aware of. Let me try to respond. This is a very specific question relating to ISD distribution rules. I do not remember the whole of rules, but much of it, as I remember, do not have specific bar which bar the distribution. Okay. So if you could, please forward the question to CBEC. We will have a specific look at it. I do not remember of any bar, but we will reply to you in specific after having examined the rules in relation to ISD.
Thank you very much. We'll do that.
All right. Thanks, Mani, for that question, and we hope that you will send in the details to the CBEC. But Ajay Sahai, Director General of the Federation of Indian Exports, joins us now, and he has several questions, and several questions have also come in on our Facebook and Twitter pages dealing with the concerns that exporters have raised. Mr. Sahai, many thanks for joining us here on the GST helpline. Go ahead with your questions for the CBEC.
First of all, let me compliment CBEC for bringing the transition rules for the drawback, but exporters are little reluctant to export as composite drawback rates require exporter to submit from GST authority a certificate regarding non-availment of input tax credit under the CGST or SGST, and this adds to the transaction time and cost. Under the pre-GST regime, the exporter were provided with the facility of self-declaration for the composite drawback rate, and therefore we would request that if the same facility may be endorsed for this GST regime also.
Okay, that's your first question. Ananya, would you like to take that query up?
Yeah, yes. This is only during the transitionary period, which is up to 30th of September for 3 months. After that, we will be having a new drawback schedule based on the GST. So I don't think that should be a big problem, but in case there is, please get in touch with us. We will certainly have a relook at it.
Thank you. Ma'am, my second issue is why you have notified the bond and LUT format for exports without IGST, which was notified on 1st of July. But it has not been clarified in the neither in the notification nor in the circular which categories of exporter will be eligible for bond with bank guarantee and which categories will furnish LUT. We are aware of some old custom circular, but field formation are not sure whether the same will continue or you will classify the separate category of exporter for giving bond with bank guarantee and the LUT facility.
We have brought out a circular on export procedures. Kindly go through that. I think we will answer all your queries.
We have gone through
that. Not the rules, the export procedure.
No, we have gone through the circular, but it has not been clarified whether which category will be eligible for bond and which category will give the LUTs.
Okay, we'll look into this. We will certainly look into this.
Fine.
Until such time a new circular is issued, we will clarify to the field that the old circulars will apply. We'll take the necessary steps today or
Wonderful,
tomorrow.
sir. Wonderful. Ma'am, my next query is with regard to the filing of the invoice, because in the invoice one has to provide the currency also, and for the GST purpose I have to provide the currency which will be converted into Indian rupees as per the RBI reference rate. But for custom purpose, for drawback purpose,
I'm supposed to convert it into Indian rupees as per the custom exchange rate. Since invoice will be the same, we would just like to have the clarification whether the customs rule will be aligned with the GST or you will align the GST rate, because it will not be possible for exporter to adopt two exchange rate, one RBI reference rate or the customs rate.
We have got representations on this. We are looking into it. Maybe by tomorrow we should be able to issue some clarification on this.
Well, my last issue is with regard to the terms of payment, because when I'm paying IGST, I'm assuming it is CIF C&F contract. Whether I have to pay IGST on CIF C&F basis, which has the transactional value, or on the FOB value. Because if it is CIF and C&F, then since freight and insurance element will not be known to me, it will be provisional also. So I want a clarification whether the IGST will be paid on FOB basis or it will be C&F or CIF basis if the contract so prescribed.
It is the valuation under the section 14 which will apply. We have put up a guidance note. If you look into that, we have given you all the scenarios. So kindly look into that guidance note which gives you everything, what will be the valuation be. So have a look at that. This we had put up on the 30th itself.
Okay, so so Mr. Sahai, some more clarifications will come in from the government, as you just heard there from the CBEC member, but also advising you to look up the guidance note that was issued by the CBEC on the 30th. But we've got more questions coming in, and this one comes in to me on Twitter. Deepak Peswani writes in saying, for claiming ITC on existing stocks, request not to club the C forms receivable in Tran 1 form, as the time limit does not allow to collect C. Manish, would you like to respond to that? This is a query that's just come in on Twitter from someone who's watching the show live.
Yeah, this is a credit which the state governments will provide for. I understand that they have, this is the way the rules are, these forms have to be collected before the credit can flow, but if the credit, if the form comes after a particular date and they are not able to avail of the credit, I think they have a facility of refund. They can get in touch with the state government authorities. This is a transitional credit in relation to CST which is being looked at. So state government will be better placed to reply to this.
Okay, so you're saying the state government will be better placed to reply to this question? Yeah.
But both situations are provided in the rule.
Saying?
When the form is received in time, then also the rule provides for it. If it is received after due date, then also procedure is provided. He doesn't lose any money or credit.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much for responding to Deepak's query that's just come in on Twitter. As you can see, lots of questions coming in here on our GST helpline. It's time now for a short break, but when we return, we continue to address your questions that are coming into the CNBC TV 18 GST helpline. The CBSE officials will answer them right after this break. Welcome back. You're watching the CNBC TV 18 GST helpline. We're taking your queries from across the country and members of the CBEC here answering the questions that are coming in. Let me go straight to the questions that are coming in from our viewers. The first one, can VAT be charged on old stock when sold now? Manish, would you like to answer that?
When you are selling your old stock, you will charge GST taxes. You will not charge VAT or central excise anymore, and the credit transition provisions provide for the transition of credit. Therefore, when on these sales you have to deposit your tax at the end of the tax period, you will pay the taxes availing of the credit which is allowed to be transited. But today, 1st July onwards, the taxes to be levied and collected from the consumers is GST. Not VAT, not any other tax.
Not VAT, not any other tax. From the 1st of July, the GST it is, and the rules as per the transition period will apply to you. Another question coming in from someone who owns a small Kirana store. Do I write an invoice with all the items with rates when I sell my product now? So do I write in the invoice all items with rates when I sell my product now? That's the query that's come in from a small Kirana store owner.
Okay, for a small kirana owner, most likely he will pay taxes under composition scheme. In that case, his tax rate is 1% flat on turnover. On invoice, he need not break into all the items unless he doesn't opt for composition scheme and wishes to be in the credit chain. But for a kirana store, where most of the supplies are to a consumer, B2C supply, most of them perhaps will opt for composition. You will have to, as a kirana store owner, take that call whether you are opting for composition or not. If you are opting for composition, this granular item would not apply to you.
Okay, all right. And another question, and I would imagine that this is something that a lot of people will be wondering about, is someone writes in saying, I'm below a threshold limit of 20 lakh rupees. Do I need to charge the GST?
No, if you are below threshold, you will not take registration, you will not undergo any compliance, but from your consumers also, you will not charge any GST.
You will not charge any GST. So hopefully that clarifies some of the queries that have come in. But let me go back across to our tax experts now. Pratik, your next set of questions here for the CBC.
Yes, so I have actually two questions. One is a very small one on the LUT, letter of undertaking. What we have heard is that in several places like Bangalore, Chennai, other places, there is a huge rush of the exporters at the port because they have to get this LUT executed before exports. And it is not physically possible to for everyone to get that before the export happens, because every day many of the larger ones have to export. So I just wanted to ask that whether any dispensation is possible to say that for next 10-15 days, till the time there is so much of rush, that you can let's say export based on some self-declaration and then LUT can be executed later. Because if that does not happen, then it could become a big problem for the exporters and could delay the shipment. That's one. And second was on Jammu and Kashmir. What do I do now if I ship any product to Jammu and Kashmir or get anything from there? What kind of taxes do I pay? So I think there's a lot of confusion on J&K, and I think it'll be appropriate if some clarification is issued. We understand that J&K is not part of GST as yet, but what happened to the transaction from J&K and to J&K at this point in time?
Okay, let's take your first question and then we'll come to J&K. Yes, ma'am,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. On the export part, we do not have any such information that there is any dislocation of any export or any rush of any export or any such issues of LUT getting over or anything. I am not aware of anything. We have no such information in the board office. But if there is an issue, please bring it to our notice, because to the best of our information, exports are moving very smoothly. There are no issues whatsoever.
Ma'am, we were also getting reports, and again, we're not, sorry Manish, just a second, because we were also getting some queries on exports being stuck and so on and so forth, consignments being stuck, but you're saying that you have not received any such information so far?
No, we do not have any such information of being goods of exports being stuck, but we do know that some of the exporters are basically waiting to sort of wait and watch to see what it is. So many of them are themselves not moving goods. But one clarification I can give you at this stage is that whatever LUTs were there earlier, they are being accepted wherever the exports are being done. So there is no such problem which is being projected here.
That's an important clarification. You're saying that the letter of the LUTs are being accepted.
LUTs are being, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Manish, go ahead.
J&K at this point in time, it may not be feasible for me to give a very categorical answer to the question Pratik has asked. His answer is as good as mine. All I will say is that we are aware of the situation and we are doing everything. Central government and state government is doing everything to resolve it as quickly as we can.
So no better answer there, Pratik. They're stumbling in the dark as well, at least on the J&K issue. And I guess it will be up to the government of Jammu and Kashmir to give us clarity on this. Yes, Manish, go ahead.
As far as central excise is concerned, it is not applicable. Central excise has fallen off. But IGST part of the answer is something which I will not be specifically taking a position, but I am very hopeful that the J&K situation will get resolved very fast, much faster than you are expecting perhaps.
When you say very fast, do you mean over the next few days, sir?
It'll not be possible for me to speculate. It is for governments to decide, both central and state government.
No, I appreciate that. But we've got more questions coming in on social media, and this one comes into us from a viewer who says, I have a house which I put on rent. Do I have to pay GST on rental income?
No, rental income is exempt from GST, so rest assured you don't have, GST is not coming your way. If it is not commercial property, it is rental income from a house property, it is not under GST. It is exempt. It is under GST but exempt.
It is under GST but exempt. Yes, Ananya.
Madam, would you like to add something?
No, whatever Manish has said, that's the correct legal position.
All right. Also, another question that's come in, I'm a Kirana store owner having a turnover of 1 crore rupees. Do I need to issue an electronic invoice on the GSTN?
No, there is a lot of confusion about what is the IT platform of GSTN and what are my requirements. Your requirement on IT platform is to file the return and take your registration through IT platform. Your day-to-day activity is something which you can do at your choice, either manually or on e-mode. It is your choice completely, whether you take a software using which you generate your invoice or you continue to do with manual invoice. Manual invoice is also accepted in GST. Manual registers are also accepted. It is only the filing of return which is on IT platform, and that is also once a month only.
Okay, so that's the response there coming in from the CBEC. A question coming in on Facebook. This one is about unregistered goods. Amit Jain is asking us whether unregistered packaged atta brand will come under the 5% slab or the 0% tax rate. You know, this has created a lot of confusion. Manish, would you like to take a stab at this?
Okay, as far as I remember, it is 0%. It is only when it is registered brand and packed in a unit container. So the requirement is A, it should be packed, B, it should be branded, C, that brand should be registered. When all these three conditions are satisfied, it goes to 5%, otherwise it is at 0%.
So Amit, that's the unequivocal response to your question. If you're not registered, then the duty that or the tax rate that applies to you is 0%. But our next question also coming to us on Facebook, Gautam Morarkar writes in asking whether sugarcane used to produce white crystal sugar is taxable under the GST.
No, sugarcane is an agricultural produce and is exempt.
Okay, so sugarcane is exempt, and that's the clear answer there, Gautam, coming in for you. Sugarcane is exempt under the GST. And another question on Facebook, this one from Shekhar. He asks, what is the final GST rate on factory-made modular furniture made from particle and fiber boards? Manish.
Okay, furniture, there's only one category. Furniture is at 28%. I do not know what is the exact nature of furniture he is saying, because this is very fact-loaded question. So I would leave it to the jurisdictional GST officer to do the assessment. But furniture in general is 28%.
Furniture in general is 28%. I remember our tax experts also grappled with this question or a similar question a few days ago on our GST headline. But let me go back now to Money. Money, more questions from you?
Yeah, very much. Thanks, Rajan. See, one area which possibly has not been addressed till now, where we are expecting some redressal, is in respect of a very employment-intensive business which is termed as leasing of cars. In case of car leasing, what happens is that the tax rate at present, it is subjected to a right to use tax under the state VAT legislation, and the effective rate of tax today is somewhere in the region of 10 to 12% or so. Now, overnight in GST, there is a necessity that this tax rate has increased to somewhere in the region of 43%, which is the 28% and the 15% cess. Now, I can understand this in respect of new cars which are purchased after the GST rollout date, because in those cases, the people who lease these cars will also be eligible for an input tax credit. But in the existing regime, when the cars are already out on lease, none of these players have got an excise duty credit on these cars when they were bought, and most of these leases are long-term leases which have a currency of 3 years and 4 years. Is there, now this again, I mean, I would like to reiterate this, is a business which is largely a business which provides enormous amount of employment to various drivers and various people associated with cars. Now, this business is very, very adversely hit, and I believe this has been represented to the board also. Do you see some form of redressal for this particular sector?
You know, Manish, before you answer that, this is a concern that has been raised over the last few days. In fact, it was a matter that we even took up with the Revenue Secretary in our GST town hall. And there are concerns, as Mani was pointing out, the fact that this is an employment-generating business as well, an employment-generating sector. And can there be any relief on this front?
Okay, as you have already explained that you have taken up the matter with Revenue Secretary, so I'm quite sure you have received answer as much as I could have given perhaps, but I would say, all I would say is that it is not for board independently to decide tax rate or credit flows in GST era. The right platform for this is to make a representation to the GST Council. GST Council does send it to the rates committee, and after examining the issue, any rates which are required to be relooked or credit flows are required to be relooked will be relooked on merit. And don't forget that for 64 commodities, rates did come down. So I'm not committing anything.
Absolutely right.
All I'm saying is that there is a procedure.
I'm not even asking you for a commitment. Let me reword my question, Manish. Do you see merit in the argument that's being presented? Is this a fit enough case to be sent to the GST Council for reconsideration?
Okay. Whether a case is fit enough or not will decide the outcome for the government, and therefore let me say that the facts which he has presented are right. Whether there is merit or not, I leave it to the committee which will examine.
Okay, that's as much as I'm going to be able to get out of the officials from the CBEC here. But as I pointed out, this is a genuine concern that has been raised over the last few days, including to the Revenue Secretary. Let's see if this does get taken to the GST Council. But a question coming in on Twitter, GP Sethi writes in saying whether overseas educational consultants who have an agreement with a foreign university and receive foreign remittance have to pay GST. Manish.
I'm not clear about the question, but it's a very fact-loaded question. Please send me, because this will depend on the nature of the contract and place of supply. Therefore, I would like to have this question on email, forward it to CBEC. We'll give you a specific answer within a day or two.
Okay, so Mr. Sethi, please send us more details and we will forward that to the officials at the CBEC and hopefully get you information on exactly what this means for you. But before we head into a break, a very quick question that's come in on our Facebook page. Kunal Thalia writes in saying he wants to know what is the GST on operation equipment made out of stainless steel. I don't know what he means by operation equipment, but Manish, I'm leaving it to your judgment.
No, see, it is very difficult to guess and kind of tell you the rate.
I agree.
All I will say is the rates are notified, and he perhaps means surgical equipment. Please go ahead and have a look at the notification. They provide the rate.
All right, the notification provides the rate, and I would appreciate it if you can be a little more specific when you're sending in your questions so that we can actually get meaningful answers from the CB officials who are patiently addressing all of your questions here. So if you have specific queries, please try and send us more details. A quick break, but we're back with you on the CNBC TV 18 GST helpline in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching the CNBC TV 18 GST helpline, and we've been taking your queries here from Twitter, Facebook, and of course our tax experts also asking their questions and also answering some of their questions. We've got a Facebook query, and this one comes in to us from Vikas Tripathi. He wants to know what is the rate, GST rate for under construction projects in real estate. Manish?
GST rate for under construction project will depend on the nature of construction. If he is constructing his own house, he is out of GST. But if it is payment linked program under which he has purchased a flat from builder, it is at 12%. It's
okay,
at 12%
we don't have the
if
details.
he is under.
Yeah.
So it will depend on the nature of the project. He can look at the service tax rate, but this is how it is.
Okay, look up the service tax rate. But let's go to the next query, and this one comes in to us from Amit Chopra. He's written to us on Facebook. He manufactures khakras. He wants to know what is the HSN code to be used there. He says that there is no mention about it in the HSN list. I love khakras. I have no idea about the HSN code though. Manish, do you have any information on the HSN code for khakras?
For?
Khakras.
Khakras.
I do not. See, this is a specific question. Please send it across. We'll classify the khakra and give you the rate of tax applicable on it. And along with the details as to whether it is to be sold in open or it is packed, or it is branded, unbranded. It should be 0 to 5. That is only a guess. Between 0 or either 0 or 5. But please send it across. We'll have a look and classify it for you.
Okay, so that's we're also creating work for the CBEC here on the show. But let me bring in Mr. Rohira now for his final question from Manish and Ananya. Mr. Rohira, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Shireen. Manishji, I have a question which is really a concern for many today. And knowing the principles of GST, which is a destination based, clearly all the exemptions were taken away. So if you were to look at the area-based exemptions which were continuing, very clearly we know that those benefits are not going to continue. And a lot of companies who are in the location like Baddi and so on and so forth, they are looking at clarifications in terms of how would the refund mechanism work, what is that they would require to do, because today there is no specific notification which they were expecting probably to come either on 30th night or 1st of July. So any thoughts on that first? Then the second question I'll come to later after this.
Okay, I am aware that the notification has not come. The government is at work, DIPP is at work on the notification, but the basic principle has been made very clear that you will get 58% of CGST paid, the cash component thereof. That means whatever is the value addition, 58% of that will come your way as refund. The reason why 58% will be paid by central government is that whatever CGST central government collects, 42% of that is devolved to the states, 58% is what is available with the state, and this is a GST council decision. Implementational part is under works, and I'm hopeful that in a day or two something will come out in public.
Sure.
Okay, so you're expecting more clarity on that in a day or two. Very quickly, your last question.
Yeah, so, under transition provisions, if you were to look at section 140, subsection 5, it talks of goods which were purchased prior and they are going to come, probably they are dispatched and they would be received after 1st of July. Now, if you were to look at the section and read it carefully, it talks of duties and taxes paid by the supplier. Now, having said that, if one were to have a situation where I have imported certain goods into India and they have landed on 30th of June and on 1st of July I cleared them, how do I go about it? Because it talks of supplier, that's one. Secondly, there is no mention about such duties which will be paid on imports under GST Tran 1 as well. So, of course, it's a specific, fact-based question, but how would one go about it? Because that's the worry today for a lot of importers in the country.
See, again I will go back to my guidance note. Please have a look at it. We have clarified all these points in great detail. What will be your assessable value if the vessel, if the entry is before and you file the bill of entry after the duty payment after 30th of June. All these issues have been clarified. That please go through it. If you still have problems, please get back to us.
No, as far as clearance after first is concerned, IGST will be levied and IGST credits will flow, and I do not see any difficulty. You are specifically telling that in the trans form there is no provision for specifying that rate. We'll have a look at that. Principle remains that IGST levied at the time of import will flow as credit. If there is any problem with the form, we'll have a look. I'm not aware of that, but now that you have flagged, we'll see, but the credits will flow.
Okay, very quickly, Ananya and Manish, before we wrap up this show, I know that there has been a review meeting that was held today in North Block on the back of the information and the feedback that you're getting. What is it that you would like people to know? Manish, let me start by asking you.
Okay, I would ask the consumers to know that after 1st of July, the only tax which you have to pay is GST. If VAT is also being charged, please don't pay VAT. Or please don't pay central excise. The tax which has to be paid is GST, and GST and VAT don't go simultaneously. It is only the GST which has to be paid, and I will request consumers that please make a little effort to become aware about what is GST, how much taxes are there on various commodities, because in the transition phase, I will request consumers to be aware so that they pay what is legitimately due from them and don't pay more than what is expected of them.
And on the customs
no VAT,
front, if I can
GST,
just clarify, on the customs front, I would just clarify that from 1st of July, there is no CVD, no SAD, it is only IGST on imports, and the BCD continues. On the drawback side, there is 3-month transitionary provision, which the old rates will continue, and from 1st of October, we will have a new drawback rate.
All right, we're completely out of time here on the CNBC TV 18 GST helpline, but we've got more questions that are coming in from our viewers. We'll probably request the CBEC officials to join us again as we continue this exercise of educating the average citizen on what the GST means. But for now, Pratik, Mani, Mr. Rohira, thanks very much for joining us, and special thanks to Manish and Ananya for patiently taking all the questions that have come in here on the CNBC TV 18 GST helpline. From all of us here for now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.